Jung uncovered something most people never realize: 7 psychological environments that quietly destroy 90% of human mental strength. They said not physical places. They are invisible traps of the mind. People enter them daily without knowing. They wander in, stay for years, and wonder why they feel drained, anxious, or lost. They blame themselves, but Jung knew the truth. These environments rewire your brain to work against you. In 1961, Jung treated a man who seemed perfectly ordinary, yet, day by day, he was unraveling. His thoughts scattered, his willpower fading, his mind slipping away. Jung traced the collapse not to madness, but to 7 psychological spaces this man stepped into every single day. Once Jung helped him see these traps and escape them, the man transformed completely. Today, I'll show you exactly what those spaces are, how to recognize when you set aside them, and Jung's escape protocol that can protect your sanity. Because once you see what Jung saw, you'll never look at a room, a relationship, or even your own thoughts the same way again. The first and most dangerous trap: the echo chamber. This is the place where every voice around you mirrors your own fears, beliefs, and biases until they harden into truth. Jung's patient spent hours in political clubs and social gatherings where everyone thought the same, feared the same, hated the same. He believed he was informed. Jung knew he was poisoned. Here's sets what happens inside an echo chamber. Your critical thinking atrophies like an unused muscle. Your worldview becomes rigid, fragile, terrified of difference. Jung called this collective possession the death of individual thought. Warning signs: you set her trapped. You can predict exactly what everyone around you will say. Different opinions feel threatening, not intriguing. You no longer ask, what if I sperm wrong? The echo chamber doesn't just stop your growth, it makes you shrink. Minds become smaller, more fearful, more dependent. But that weakness leads you straight into the second environment, the comparison arena. Here your value is no longer your own. It is measured against everyone else's success, status, and illusions of achievement. Jung's patient, already fragile from the echo chamber, began obsessively comparing his life to others. Every success around him became proof of his own failure. Science now confirms Jung's insight. Research shows constant comparison shrinks the very part of your brain that governs self-worth. Jung called it the inflation-deflation cycle. You are never simply yourself, only higher or lower than someone else. The patient confessed, I got promoted at work, but all I could think about was how my friend became CEO faster. My victory meant nothing because it wasn't set theirs. Warning signs: you set her trapped. Other people is success. Success feels like your failure. Achievements feel hollow unless they surpass others. You live edited for appearances, not aligned with your truth. This environment is deadly because it severs you from your own values. You stop asking, what brings me joy, and start chasing what brings applause. And that's only the beginning. The deeper truth. Neuroscience now proves what Jung already knew. Toxic psychological environments literally reshape your brain. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research shows they flood your system with cortisol, shrinking the hippocampus, the very seat of memory and emotional balance. Jung went further. He warned, these places don't just harm you temporarily. They reprogram your default state of mind. Spend enough time in them, and your brain begins recreating their patterns even when you're alone. That's why Jung's patient developed what we now call learned helplessness. Even in safe spaces, he expected failure, criticism, inadequacy. His mind had been carved by invisible prisons. And Jung left us with one of his most haunting truths. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. And you will call it fate. These environments don't just drain you. They program your unconscious mind to work against you. The most disturbing part, you rarely notice it happening. The erosion is subtle, gradual, slipping beneath awareness, until one day you can't tell where the programming ends, and you begin. The third trap, the performance theater. This is the place where authenticity is punished and masks are rewarded. Jung's patient worked in a corporate world where vulnerability was suicide. He laughed at jokes he didn't find funny, agreed with ideas he despised, hid every part of himself that didn't fit the culture. Jung called this persona identification, when the mask you wear becomes the only self you recognize. The patient confessed, "I don't set to know who I am anymore. I've been performing for so long, the real me feels like a stranger." This trap kills slowly. Each compromise feels small, but compromise after compromise compounds into complete self-betrayal. Research confirms what Jung observed. People trapped in performance theaters develop vicious inner critics. They internalize the harsh judgment around them and carry it everywhere. Warning signs you've been trapped. Social interactions leave you exhausted, not energized. You nod to things you don't believe. You fear your opinions are too much or too risky. You feel like you're wearing a costume you can't remove. The patient described it best. "I became so good at being what others wanted. I forgot what I wanted, and when I tried to remember, there was nothing there." Jung realized this place doesn't just hide your true self, it erases it, layer by layer, until nothing remains but performance. And from here, the descent continues. The fourth trap, the silent suffering space. This is the environment where emotional needs are buried beneath the illusion of stability. Jung saw this constantly. Patients from perfect families, homes with no conflict, but also no connection, places where appearances mattered more than authenticity. His patient admitted, "We never fought, but we never talked either. I learned that having needs was selfish, and expressing pain was weakness." Jung called this emotional starvation. Needs don't vanish when ignored. They sink into the unconscious, festering into anxiety, depression, emptiness. Modern research shows the same suppressing emotions dysregulates the nervous system, keeping the body in a chronic state of stress. The danger, it feels normal. The patient told Jung, "I thought we were close because we never had conflict. I didn't realize avoiding conflict also meant avoiding intimacy." Warning signs you are trapped. You feel lonely even when surrounded by people. You cope with pain instead of healing it. Asking for support feels selfish or weak. Your relationships feel peaceful but brittle, ready to shatter if truth is spoken. This place disconnects you from your own emotions. You sense something is wrong, but can't name it, because naming it would break the unspoken rules. The fifth trap, the chaos storm. If the silent space starves you of emotion, this place drowns you in noise. Here, constant stimulation suffocates your inner voice until you can't hear yourself think. Jung's patient lived inside this storm. Newspapers demanding attention, radio spreading anxiety, social gatherings draining energy, work invading every corner of his home. Every quiet moment had to be filled with chatter, reading, busyness, because silence was unbearable. But Jung understood the truth. This wasn't preference, it was avoidance. The patient feared stillness because silence would force him to confront unresolved pain, hidden choices, unwanted truths. Modern research proves it. Chronic overstimulation literally overwhelms the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center, forcing it into impulsive decisions just to reduce overload. Jung called it psychic fragmentation. When your attention becomes so fractured, you can no longer weave experiences into wisdom. The patient consumed endless information, but none of it connected. Knowledge without clarity, noise without meaning. And here lies the trap. When you run from silence, you also run from yourself. Chaos is not just overwhelming, it's addictive. Your brain adapts to constant stimulation, craving louder noise, faster movement, heavier input, just to feel normal. Silence becomes unbearable. Stillness feels like danger. Your nervous system, once built for balance, has forgotten how to regulate itself. Warning signs you spur lost in the storm. Silence makes you instantly reach for a book, your phone, or background noise. You hold strong opinions about everything, yet understand almost nothing deeply. You feel busy all day but can't recall what you accomplished. Slowing down triggers anxiety, not peace. You consume information constantly but feel empty inside. The patient admitted, "I stay busy because when I stop, everything I serve running from catches up to me, but I sever exhausted from running." And Jung saw the truth. Chaos drowns out the voice within. When you can't sit with yourself, you can't truly know yourself. That's why chaos inevitably leads to the next descent. The sixth trap, the self-abandonment chamber. This is the most insidious environment because it feels responsible, noble, even mature. But in reality, it's self-erasure. Here, you systematically ignore your own needs, instincts, and truth. You say yes when every fiber screams no. You stay in draining relationships because leaving feels harder than enduring. You choose safety over growth, comfort over authenticity. The patient explained, "I became so skilled at ignoring my gut instincts, I stopped having them. Every choice I made was based on what others wanted, what seemed practical, or what avoided conflict." Research shows chronic self-abandonment severs you from your body's wisdom. You no longer know what you feel or want because those signals have been silenced for too long. Jung called this soul loss, not mysticism, psychology. A state where you become estranged from your core self. The patient confessed, "I was living someone else's life. I succeeded at everything I was supposed to want, but inside, I was hollow. I didn't know who I was beneath all the Sid's shoulds and Sid musts." Warning signs you set are trapped. You can't remember the last time you checked in with your own feelings. Your decisions are dictated by expectations, not desire. Preferences fade. You stop caring about things that once mattered. Life feels mechanical, like you're running on autopilot. When someone asks, "What do you want?" you don't know. This chamber is deadly because society often applauds it. Responsibility, sacrifice, maturity. But beneath the applause, you are quietly vanishing. And when enough of you has been abandoned, you reach the final descent. The seventh trap, the shadow basement. The darkest environment of all is not outside, it's inside. This is where you've locked away everything you can't face. Shame, pain, rage, envy, fear, the pieces of yourself you've exiled. Jung's patient avoided this basement for years. Whenever painful memories surfaced, he shoved them down. Whenever shame or anger appeared, he buried them in silence. But Jung discovered the truth. What you bury doesn't die, it grows. It strengthens in the dark, waiting. The patient began sabotaging relationships, overreacting to small slights, repeating patterns he swore he'd never repeat. Modern research confirms it. Unprocessed emotions don't disappear. They live in your nervous system, shaping your reactions until you face them. Jung called this shadow possession, when the very parts of you that you've rejected take control of your life. The patient confessed, "I became everything I hated about my father, and I didn't see it happening until the damage was already done." The shadow basement is dangerous, not because of what it holds, but because avoidance gives it more power, not less. The shadow never stays buried. It leaks out as projection, addiction, sudden rage, or subtle acts of self-sabotage. But Jung uncovered something extraordinary. The shadow is not only darkness, it is also raw power and creativity. When his patient faced it directly, anger transformed into passionate advocacy. Sadness became profound empathy. Shame turned into fierce compassion for others carrying similar wounds. Warning signs you was avoiding the basement. Sudden, overwhelming emotions that surprise even you. Repeating the same relationship patterns despite knowing better. Harshly judging others for traits you secretly fear in yourself. Persistent anxiety or depression without a clear cause. Feeling like an invisible enemy lives inside your own mind. Jung realized healing requires descending into the basement, not with judgment, but with curiosity and compassion. The Escape Jung Suffs Protocol for Psychological Freedom. Now that you can see the 7 environments, the question is, how do you escape them? Jung created a method he called the individuation process, a roadmap to reclaiming the mind. Step 1. Conscious recognition. You cannot leave a place if you don't realize you're in it. Jung's patient had to face the truth. Every day he was stepping into environments that were slowly destroying him. Step 2. Environmental audit. Examine every space, physical and digital. Ask, does this place expand me or shrink me? Does it feed my growth or starve it? Step 3. Strategic withdrawal. Freedom doesn't mean abandoning your life. It means reducing exposure to the toxic. Jung's patient began small, less time in poisonous social circles, more boundaries with draining people, daily rituals of solitude. Step 4. Conscious integration. Escaping is not enough. You must create environments that strengthen you. Seek people who challenge you with kindness. Rooms that reward authenticity. Spaces that feed growth instead of punishing it. Step 5. Shadow work. Avoidance breeds possession. The only way out is through therapy, journaling, and deep self-exploration. Allowed Jung's patient to bring unconscious content into the light. Step 6. Regular maintenance. The 7 traps are seductive. They whisper comfort, belonging, familiarity. But Jung warned, growth requires vigilance. Choose truth over convenience. Choose expansion over safety. Every single day. The transformation. After 6 months, the patient confessed, I didn't realize how much mental energy I was wasting in those toxic places. Now that I've left them, I feel like I have my mind back. And the results were undeniable. Within 3 months of leaving the echo chamber, his critical thinking sharpened. He sought out new perspectives and made decisions based on evidence, not groupthink. Escaping the comparison arena freed him to pursue goals that were genuinely his, not borrowed from others. Leaving the performance theater was painful. People preferred his mask to his truth. But Jung reminded him, relationships built on performance are not real relationships. In the silent suffering space, he learned to express needs, set boundaries, and ask for support, skills his family had never modeled. Escaping the chaos storm meant enduring the discomfort of stillness. But Jung taught him, only in silence can wisdom emerge. The self-abandonment chamber required terrifying honesty, making decisions from his own truth instead of others' expectations. It cost him approval, but gave him authenticity. In the shadow basement, each piece of darkness integrated became a source of strength. Every confrontation with shame, anger, or fear unlocked more compassion, more wholeness, more power. The ultimate lesson. Jung observed something profound. Those who escaped these spaces do not just feel better, they become different people. Their relationships deepen, their decisions clarify. They develop what Jung called psychological sovereignty, a state where the unconscious no longer rules them, but serves them. And here lies the paradox. When you change your relationship to these spaces, you change the spaces themselves. The patient's family resisted at first. His boundaries and honesty disrupted their familiar silence. They tried to pull him back. But Jung reminded him, hold your ground with compassion, not aggression. Your growth will threaten those still asleep, but if you stay true, some will awaken beside you. Gradually, his authenticity gave others permission to be real. His sister began voicing feelings she had buried for years. His father confessed to a depression he had hidden for decades. The family system began to heal because one person refused to participate in its dysfunction. At work, he stopped performing and started contributing authentically. Some colleagues were threatened, others were inspired. He discovered that authentic leadership is far more powerful than performance-based people-pleasing. Jung called this the ripple effect of individuation. When you withdraw from toxic psychological patterns, you force those patterns to either evolve or dissolve. The patient once told Jung, I thought changing myself would make me lonely, but it actually attracted people who wanted real connection. I traded many relationships for a few meaningful ones, and it was the best exchange I ever made. This was Jung's ultimate insight about the dangerous places. They persist not because they are invincible, but because we collectively agree to inhabit them. And when enough individuals choose freedom over conformity, the collective environment itself transforms. Remember Jung's discovery, 90% of a person's mental strength is destroyed by these 7 psychological environments. But you now hold an awareness that most people never reach. You can choose differently. His patient began as a man slowly losing his mind in spaces that felt normal. He ended as someone who reclaimed sovereignty over his psyche, and in doing so, helped others do the same. The 7 environments Jung identified aren't abstractions. They are real psychological landscapes you walk through every single day. The echo chamber that confirms your biases while hollowing your mind. The comparison arena that robs meaning from your achievements. The performance theater that rewards the mask and punishes the real. The silent suffering space that buries your needs under false peace. The chaos storm that drowns your inner voice in noise. The self-abandonment chamber where you betray yourself one decision at a time. And the shadow basement where you lock away parts of your soul. But Jung didn't stop at diagnosis. He revealed the way out, not through escape, not through denial, but through recognition, conscious choices, and the courage to grow beyond what feels safe. His patient, treated in 1961, went on to become a therapist himself, guiding others out of these same traps. he understood the deepest truth. Mental strength isn't set about avoiding difficulty. It's set about choosing the kind of difficulty that serves your growth. Jung's final warning was clear. These places will never disappear. They will always tempt you. Echo chambers offer easy belonging. Comparison arenas disguise envy as ambition. Performance theaters hand out approval like narcotics. Silent suffering pretends to be peace. Chaos storms mask themselves as excitement. Self-abandonment looks like keeping the peace. And the shadow basement whispers, hide here, no one will see. The true strength is different. It is the choice to seek growth over comfort, authenticity over applause, and consciousness over convenience. The real question isn't if you'll enter these dangerous places. You will. The real question is, will you recognize them when you're inside? Will you have the courage to leave? And will you create a psychological space where others are free to be real too? Jung believed the future of human consciousness depends on those willing to make this choice, to trade unconscious conformity for psychological freedom. That choice begins now with you. Ask yourself, which of these 7 places have I been inhabiting for too long? Sometimes, naming the place is the first step toward the exit.